Hi everyone, welcome to Carmen's Australian Storytime. Today I'm reading The Potato People. It's written and illustrated by one of my favourites, Pamela Allen. Potato People. It's got me very curious. Let's have a look at the blurb and see what it tells us. Every Friday, Jack spends the day with his grandma. They romp roly-poly on the ground, they read stories, and they eat cake. Then one cold and rainy Friday, they make the Potato People. What are potato people? Does anybody know? This book has me very curious. I see some potatoes here, but they don't look like people. I bet my prep class from last year knows. Every Friday, Jack's mother works. Every Friday, Jack spends the day with Grandma. This is Grandma's house. I can tell by using my visual clues that Grandma looks like she lives in the country because I don't see very many other houses around her. They play hide and seek. They romp roly-poly on the ground. They read stories and they eat cake. That was always my favourite thing to do with my grandma. We would make cups of tea and eat cake together. One Friday, the clouds were big and black, and the rain dribbled down the window panes and rattled on the tin roof. "It's raining," sighed Jack. "I know," said Grandma. And she went to the cupboard and brought out a big box. Inside the box were 4 potatoes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wonder what they're going to do with those potatoes. "I'm going to make a little potato man," said Jack. "I'm going to make a little potato woman," said Grandma. And they did. Look at these potato people. Grandma placed them carefully on the windowsill. "There," said Grandma. "There," said Jack. "They looked pleased with each other," said Grandma. "We're pleased with each other too," said Jack. "Look, they've got their labels. They've used some wool, a potato, some pretty fabric, a bottle top, some toothpicks, potato again, and some pins with knobs on them for the eyes and the buttons. They look great." I'm making a connection to what I did with my prep class, but I'll tell you about it in a minute. Then one day Jack and his mother had to go away for a while. That Friday, Jack didn't come. He didn't come the Friday after that, or the Friday after that. Lots of Fridays went by, and still Jack didn't come to visit Grandma. Gradually, the little potato people wrinkled and withered. Gradually, their smiles drooped and twisted. They're great describing words, aren't they? Now Grandma called them the little old potato man and the little old potato woman. She looked at herself in the mirror. "I'm just like them," thought Grandma, and she sat down and she sighed. She looks very lonely, doesn't she? One day, a stalk sprouted on the head of the little old man. "He's growing horns," thought Grandma. Then a stalk sprouted on the head of the little old woman. "She's growing horns too," thought Grandma. The horns grew and grew. Do you think those horns might be the roots of a potato? At last, Grandma could bear it no longer. She said goodbye to the little old potato man and the little old potato woman, and she buried them outside in the compost heap. What's a compost heap, do you know? That's right, it's where you put all your food scraps and then you dig them into the garden when they've broken down a little bit. But Jack didn't know because Jack wasn't there. I wonder if Jack's going to miss his potato man when he finds out. Soon a shoot appeared above the ground, then another and another. Up they grew, up they grew, until They were so high that Grandma couldn't see over the top. "Tambourines and treacle tarts!" exclaimed Grandma. I'm making a connection to my prep class. We did this, we tried this and made our own potato people, and we planted them. Can anyone remember how long we had to wait for a potato to grow? It's 100 days. We had to wait in prep 100 days to see if they would grow. And I remember saying tambourines and treacle tarts to my class. At last, one Friday, when the clouds were big and black and the rain dribbled down the window panes and rattled on the tin roof, there was a knock at the door. "Jack!" gasped Grandma, and they hugged and hugged. They played hide and seek. They romped roly-poly on the ground. They read stories, and what was the last thing they did? They ate some cake. Grandma looks very happy. "Grandma," asked Jack, "what happened to our little potato people?" "I buried them outside in the compost heap," said Grandma, "and they grew and grew." "Let's go and look," said Jack. So they put on their raincoats, pulled on their gumboots, and went out in the rain to see. But all they could see were the stalks, now brown and dead, lying on top of the ground. So they've died and withered. But what can we see under the ground that they can't? Let's see. So Grandma fetched a big fork, and Jack fetched a little fork, and they dug, and they dug, and they dug. First Grandma found one potato, then Jack found 2 potatoes. 1 potato, 2 potato, 3 potato, 4, 5 potatoes, 6 potatoes, 7 potatoes more, sang Grandma. They found big potatoes, and they found little potatoes. Oh my goodness. Soon there were hundreds and hundreds of potatoes. "Tambourines and treacle tarts!" exclaimed Grandma. Do you think this might be an exaggeration? I think that is an awful lot of potatoes to dig up from 2 potatoes. When my class planted our potatoes, and we probably planted about 10 half potatoes into the ground. We cut all of our people up in half and put them in the ground. Lots of people took theirs home, but the ones who left them behind and we planted, after 100 days we did not get this many potatoes. When there were no more potatoes left to dig, they hung up their forks, they took off their raincoats, they put away their gumboots, they washed their hands, and Grandma dried her hair. Look, he has to stand on a step to reach the tap. Do you sometimes have to do that at home as well? "Grandma," said Jack. "Yes," said Grandma. "Let's make a little potato man and a little potato woman." And they did. Oh boy, they're going to wait another 100 days. Do you know what though? I think they have enough potatoes to last them until the next lot. Thank you for reading Carmen's Australian Storytime. Another one of my favourites. If you can ever get a hold of Pamela Allen books, you're on to a winner because they are all so wonderful. I will see you next time. Goodbye.